Unfortunately, many health professionals out there, we call them Jurassic health practitioners because they're still operating from this very old mentality, and some of them at least think that pain is a result of damage in the tissues or that it originates from the tissues, and this is just simply not true. Yeah, sometimes it's misinformed, it's not always doing the right thing, but at its heart, it's just trying to protect you. So in this way, the brain really is the boss. It decides everything. It weighs up so many different things. One of the things that pain draws upon that's very important is the role of context. Hi, everybody. Really nice to see all of you again. I'm really excited to be on this journey with you and to be able to share some of my knowledge and hopefully help you a little bit on your journey. I also know just being able to share this information for myself is very empowering. So thank you too very much for listening. So in our first session last time, we discussed the idea of pain being, a really unreliable indicator of tissue damage. And hopefully after, realizing that and doing a bit of homework, that's empowered you a little bit. That's a piece of information, a valuable piece of information that, you previously didn't have before, but now you do. And I hope you strongly bought into it. All the science, at least the contemporary science over the last decade, has so strongly supported the idea that pain is not an adequate indication of tissue damage. Unfortunately, many health professionals out there, we call them Jurassic health practitioners because they're still operating from this very old mentality, and some of them at least think that pain is a result of damage in the tissues or that it originates from the tissues. And the science over the last decade has told us over and over again, this is just simply not true. So next time you feel that really sore knee or that really sore back, I hope this idea that pain and tissue damage are not closely related comes back to you. And even that information can be very analgesic in itself, meaning that just knowing that piece of knowledge can have an impact on the pain experience, which is really empowering. And if you want to find more information on that, do check out my webpage, reframepain.org, and you can learn more about how pain is not an adequate indicator of tissue damage, and you can look more into that. I love this idea that pain is more of a protector than anything else. And we touched on that the last session, that pain is just this part of your body that's trying desperately to protect you. And yeah, sometimes it's misinformed, it's not always doing the right thing, but at its heart, it's just trying to protect you. And, we've really got to honor that output, honor that process that the body is going through to try and look after you, and then gradually teach it some better ways of doing things. So in the last session, we looked at the idea of pain and tissue damage being quite unrelated. And we also looked at this idea of pain being a constructed output of your brain. That's not to say it's not real, because it's very real. It's a very real experience, but it is an experience constructed within the brain. So it's not detected like heat or chemical detectors sense external stimuli. Pain is something that's made or created, and it's something that's distributed all over your brain. So we discussed the idea that pain is distributed across your brain, and many, many things impact on your pain. And your brain utilizes all these different experiences and areas to decide if it wants to produce a pain experience. So in this way, the brain really is the boss. It decides everything. It weighs up so many different things before it decides whether or not to give you the pain experience. One of the things that pain draws upon that's very important is the role of context. So the context that you're in is very important, is a very important cue to your brain. And to give you an example of this, there's a lovely example. Again, there's this beautiful group of scientists who are doing a lot of work. And one of them illustrated this point that if you're walking across the highway and there's so many cars, there's traffic, you're feeling very overwhelmed. and you step on a nail, the likelihood of you experiencing pain is in fact very small. You're probably not going to experience pain just because your brain has other more important things that it needs to prioritize at that time. But if you're stumbling into the kitchen at 2 o'clock in the morning, trying to get yourself some milk and cookies, and you step on a nail or you kick your foot into a chair, you're probably going to experience a lot of pain, enough to probably drop that plate of cookies and make a big mess. Another example is that I frequently think about when I think about the role of context is if you look at your favorite sports team. I know I really like rugby, and what frequently happens is that someone will score a goal, or in rugby we call it a try, and all their teammates will jump on top of them and they will rejoice and everyone will be so happy. And the poor teammate who's just been jumped on by everybody, he's looking so happy. I mean, he doesn't feel pain. And why would he feel pain? He's surrounded by his friends. He's joyous. There's so many things going on. So his brain doesn't perceive the situation to, be dangerous. It doesn't need to protect him at that moment. But what's really interesting is that if he's walking in the street and a group of people jump on him in a dark alley in the middle of the night when he's not expecting it, and it's raining and it's miserable and he can't see properly, and some people jump on top of him with the exact same force as his teammates during that celebratory moment when he scored the goal, he's likely to experience a lot of pain. And actually in that situation, he's likely to venture forth into, a long period of probably even chronic pain, just like I've experienced and just like you've experienced, probably after an incident like that. His hyperprotective setting, or the alarm system we spoke about, is likely going to be very, very high. So that's the role of context and how important context can be in generating this pain experience. I know from my own life, the moments when I have the most pain, or at least when I had the most pain in the past, was when I was surrounded by people, particularly in a work setting. And I have a lot of people-pleasing tendencies, so that's something that's something I learned about myself at least a while back. And when I was surrounded by all of these people, I felt the intense need to, please others. I had a few other conditioned responses that made being around people or in a work environment very stressful, actually. And my pain would always be worse. I mean, I've always struggled with chest pain. That's probably where the heart of my pain has really lied. And being in the work environment, especially with a boss in the past who wasn't always that accommodating, and so much going on, and my people-pleasing tendencies, that made it almost excruciatingly painful. But, on the other hand, there was some context that certainly helped me. Being at home, shutting my door, because I'm an introvert, not seeing anybody, making myself a cup of tea, putting on my favorite series. Maybe my wife and my child are around me, because I don't feel like I need to adopt those same tendencies that I do at work. So, in that situation with the tea, with the TV, with the door shut and the aircon on, it didn't fully take away my pain, definitely not. But there were definitely moments when it was noticeable that context was much better than other contexts. So the idea here is to figure out what contexts does your body need to feel like it needs to protect itself more in, and what context does it feel safer in. So your next homework assignment for this week is to think about moments when your pain is drastically less. Is it with someone you love? Is it when you're out in nature? Think about moments when your pain is significantly worse. What's the context? Are you in your doctor's office? Are you seeing an X-ray of your back and hearing some very dangerous words that might not in fact even be true? But is there a particular context where the pain is better or worse? So I want you to put those in the context, in the comments, and let's hear from each other what you have to say about the role of context in your experience. And I will end off here by saying, once we realize what contexts are better for our pain, we can have an appreciation for the idea that pain relies on so many different things. And we can also begin to seek out those contexts that are better for us, or at least better for our pain. And you certainly can't ignore all the difficult contexts, but you can also gradually retrain yourself in those contexts. So for example, in my case, where I knew that people pleasing and being around a boss was something that drastically impacted my pain, I gradually learned how to, reduce these people pleasing tendencies, be more authentic in the workplace, relate in a way that was more true to who I am. And that significantly helped me. So it's a very fine balancing act of seeking out better context, challenging the difficult context, and still facing them with bravery and with courage. And even just this information is another valuable piece of analgesic information, as I like to call it, that your brain draws upon when it decides to produce pain or not. I'm looking forward to hearing what everyone has to say. And as always, if you have any questions, you're welcome to email me or get in touch with me on my website, reframepain.com. I'm so glad to be on this journey with you and just to get stronger day by day and moment by moment. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all again soon. Cheers.